Good morning, dear unit holders, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our second annual general meeting held virtually pursuant to Regulation 134 of the Capital Markets Collective Investments Schemes Regulation 2023. Let us all stand for the national and East Africa anthems. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to our second annual general meeting. My name is Rose Limo, the fund trustee from KCB Corporate Trustee Limited, and I will be chairing today's meeting. I sincerely appreciate all of you who have managed to dial in or connect over the internet with us today. I'd like to inform all participants that this annual general meeting is being recorded. The recording is conducted in accordance with our data protection policies and is intended solely for the record-keeping purposes. By continuing to participate, you are acknowledging and consenting to this recording. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact the fund manager at service@lofty-Corban.com. I would like to begin with this meeting with a word of prayer, and I would like to invite Leonida Misioka to lead us with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. As we begin our second annual general meeting, kindly let us believe and pray. Father in heaven, we come before you this morning full of thanks for lofty-Corban investments, full of thanks for our lives, full of thanks for each of us that is participating in this meeting. Father, we don't take it for granted that you have given us good health and even the progress thus far. Father, we pray for our country, for the leadership, for the citizens, and for all the matters pertaining our country and our economy. Bless us, make our land productive, Father, and all glory shall be yours. We pray for the stakeholders of lofty-Corban investments, our members who are the main people in this event. Father, continue to bless them, grow them, and let lofty-Corban be that platform that they so needed for their growth. We pray for our trustee to continue showing leadership in our operations. We pray for our custodian to remain giving us the good services, for the auditor and all other stakeholders that are involved in the scheme. Father, as we go into the meeting, come in with us, give us your wisdom, and as we see the end of the meeting, we shall not forget to give you glory and honor. It is in Jesus' name I pray, trust, and believe. Amen.
Thank you, Leonida. Moving along, let me take this opportunity to introduce the board chairman of the fund sponsor, lofty-Corban Investment Limited, Mr. George Wafula, to introduce the board of directors, service providers, and other officials of the company. Welcome, George.
Thank you, Rose. Good morning, unit holders. My name is George Wafula. I'm the board chairman of the fund sponsor for Lofty-Corban Investments Limited. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the fund's second annual general meeting. Let me take this opportunity to introduce the board. Starting with myself, CPA George Wafula, the board chairman. We have Peter Coril, non-executive director. We have CPA Prof. Elizabeth Kalunda, non-executive director. We have CPA Richard Tobiko, independent director. We have Dorcas Mwamba, independent director. We have Patrice Chuchu, independent director. And we have F.A. Seth Andiki, non-executive director. Leonida Musyoka, executive director. And we have CFA, F.A. Stanley Mutuku, chief executive officer and managing director. We have company secretary Eunice Arwa. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of the following service providers and to thank them for their dedicated service and commitment to the business. Ross Limo, representing the corporate trustee, KCB Bank Kenya Limited, who will also be chairing this meeting. We have CPAF A. Teddy Younger, representing the fund manager, Lofty-Corban Investments Limited. We have next Sheila Odera from the Equity Bank, our custodians. Then we have CPA Richard Ochako, representing the external auditors, Ochako and Associates. This fund is managed by Lofty-Corban Investments Limited, which is also represented in this meeting by the management team. And I invite our CEO, Stanley Mutuku, to introduce the members of the management team.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, unit holders. My name is Stanley Mutuku, and I stand in as the CEO of Lofty-Corban Investments Limited, a fund managed by the following team members. We have myself, CPA F.A. Stanley Mutuku. We have David Gitau, CFA, who is the Chief Commercial Officer. We have F.A. Alex Mutaka, Chief Investments Officer. We have CPA F.A. Teddy Younger, Senior Investment Manager. We have Cecilia Makali, our Senior Manager, Fund Administration. We have Wambui Njogu, Senior Manager, Strategy and Operations. Leonida Musyoka, who is Manager in charge of Investment Consultants. And we have CPA Nicholas Mwachilumo, Finance Manager. We have Mark Muchugia, who is our ICT Administrator, and Bessie Miti, who is our Risk and Compliance Officer. Thank you, and back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman and CEO, for the introductions. Moving on at this point, I would like to call upon our Company Secretary, Eunice Arwa, to confirm the presence of a quorum.
Dear Board and unit holders, I confirm that a total number of 2,625 unit holders, representing 18.13% of the fund value, are participating in the virtual annual general meeting. I confirm that the meeting is properly constituted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, our Secretary. Having confirmed that we have a quorum present, I now declare the meeting properly convened and constituted. I will now invite the Company Secretary to read the AGM notice.
Notice of the second annual general meeting of Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme. Notice is hereby given that pursuant to Regulation 134 of the Capital Markets Collective Investment Schemes Regulations of 2023, the second annual general meeting of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme will be held virtually on Thursday, 30th April 2026 at 10 a.m. The agenda shall include ordinary business, 1, opening remarks and introductions by the chair lady, 2, tabling of proxies and confirmation of quorum, 3, reading of the notice convening the meeting, 4, remarks by the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Lofty-Corban Investments Limited, 5, to receive, consider, and if deemed fit, adopt the annual report and audited financial statements of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme for the financial year ended 31st December 2025, together with the reports of the trustee, custodian, fund manager, and auditors. 6, to approve the appointment/reappointment of the auditors of the scheme and authorize the trustee/fund manager to fix their remuneration. 7, to transact any other business of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme of which due notice has been received by the Trust Secretary at least 48 hours before the meeting. By order of the trustee, the notice was issued on 9th April 2026. The accompanying notes were included for information. Notice of the second annual general meeting of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme. The trustee hereby notifies unit holders of an additional agenda item to be considered at the forthcoming meeting scheduled for Thursday, 30th April 2026. Additional agenda item: to seek ratification from unit holders for the establishment of 3 sub-clauses of the Kenya Shillings Money Market Fund to replace the Special Money Market Fund. The proposed sub-clauses will allow investors lock funds for specified periods as outlined below. Class A, 3 months. Class B, 6 months. Class C, 12 months. This supplementary notice should be read in conjunction with the original notice of the meeting circulated on 9th April 2026. By order of the trustee, this notice was issued on 16th April 2026. The accompanying notes were included for information. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, our Secretary. I now request for a proposer and seconder for the adoption of the agenda that was circulated in the notice convening the annual general meeting. I now confirm that Owate Jane Anindo has proposed and Maluha Vincent Engafu has seconded the adoption of the agenda for the second annual general meeting. The agenda is therefore duly adopted. The minutes of the first annual general meeting held on 30th May 2025 were shared with the unit holders and have been posted here on the e-AGM platform as we will take them as read. Moving along, at this point, I wish to invite the board chairman, Mr. George Wafula, and CEO, Mr. Stanley Mutuku, to give their opening remarks. Welcome.
Thank you, Rose. To our esteemed unit holders, the CEO, Lofty-Corban management and staff, our auditors, representative from CMA, our partners, KCB Trustee Services and Equity Custodial Services, I wish to welcome you all to this second annual general meeting of the lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme. The theme for my message is Architecting Kenya's Financial Sovereignty. Distinguished unit holders, the trustee, the custodian, the auditors, partners, and fellow stakeholders, it is both an honor and a responsibility to stand before you today, not only to present our financial performance, but to reflect on a broader and more important agenda, the future of financial sovereignty in Kenya. When we review the year 2025, the numbers tell a compelling and encouraging story. Across our unit trust schemes, total assets have grown significantly to approximately Kenya shilling 4.7 billion, up from Kenya shilling 2.9 billion in 2024, reflecting strong investor confidence, disciplined execution, and a growing relevance of structured investment solutions in the Kenyan market. At the core of this growth, the money market fund expanded to Kenya shilling 4.4 billion, up from Kenya shilling 2.4 billion. The bond fund grew to Kenya shilling 106.8 million from Kenya shilling 15.1 million. The equity fund increased to Kenya shilling 15.3 million from 4.5 million. And the USD funds maintained stability, supporting diversification across currency exposure. This performance translated into strong earnings, with the money market fund delivering Kenya shilling 378.7 million in net income, supported by disciplined portfolio allocation and active management, fully distributed to the unit holders depending on their holdings. This growth is not accidental. It is a reflection of trust, consistency, and a disciplined investment philosophy. But beyond numbers lies a deeper and more important question. Are we as investors truly in control of our financial future? The reality is there exists a knowledge gap, not just a wealth gap. Kenya's collective investment schemes industry has now surpassed Kenya shilling 680 billion in assets under management, with money market funds continuing to serve as a primary gateway into formal investing. Yet, despite this progress, a critical gap remains, not just in wealth, but in financial understanding. Across the country, we see individuals working harder than ever, yet remaining financially vulnerable. Growing interest in investments, but limited structured financial guidance. Increasing appetite for higher returns, often without a clear understanding of risk. Too often, investing becomes reactionary, driven by trends, urgency, or fear rather than strategy. This is the defining challenge for our time. How have we responded as lofty-Corban Investments Limited? Education, structure, and discipline. At lofty-Corban, we have taken a deliberate and firm position. We not just manage money, we build informed investors. Our mission remains clear: to prudently empower our clients to achieve financial freedom. Guided by our core value of professionalism, upholding the highest standards of integrity and discipline, ownership, taking responsibility for client outcomes, and agility, responding effectively to changing market dynamics, and anchored in our philosophy, educate first, onboard client second, because without understanding, investing is not empowerment, it is exposure. So what is our solution? Our solution is structured pathways to wealth creation. To support different investor needs, we have built a diversified and structured product suite where we have the core investment solutions, the money market funds, that is both Kenya shilling and US dollar, and this offers liquidity, stability, and capital preservation. Second, we have the fixed income fund, which is Kenya shilling and USD, and these are predictable income through bonds and structured instruments. Third, we have equity fund, which is long-term capital appreciation through listed markets. We also have alternative growth solutions, and the first product here is a private debt special fund, which is a flagship solution delivering more than 14% return, and is engineered to achieve approximately 4% above money market funds. With structured investment and strong risk management, notably, this fund has demonstrated exceptional market acceptance, growing to over Kenya shilling 560 million within just 3 months after launch. A clear indication of investor appetite for well-researched, structured products that directly respond to client needs. The second product in this category is a global asset special fund, and this is a high growth solution targeting returns of up to 20%, which provides exposure to global investment opportunities and diversification beyond local markets. Then we have retirement and institutional solutions, starting with the individual pension plan, the IPP. We have the income drawdown fund, which is IDD. We have the umbrella pension fund and segregated fund management services. These solutions reinforce a fundamental truth that wealth is not built from one product. It's built through structure, diversification, and discipline. There is a shift in investor mindset. We are witnessing a powerful transformation in Kenya, where investors are moving from saving to strategic investing, from return chasing to risk awareness, and from passive participation to informed decision making. They are beginning to understand that inflation actively erodes idle money. Risk is not the enemy. Misunderstood risk is, and wealth is built through discipline, not timing. This is the mindset that builds sustainable wealth and ultimately financial independence. Call to action, from participation to ownership. To our valued unit holders, I leave you with this challenge. Do not be passive participants in your financial journey. Instead, invest with clarity, not emotion. Diversify across asset classes, not comfort zones. Commit to consistency, not convenience. And seek understanding, not just returns. Because the real shift happens when you move from asking, how much did I earn, to is my strategy aligned to my long-term future? In conclusion, building more than wealth, at Lofty-Corban, we are not merely managing portfolios, we are shaping financial futures. Our vision remains bold, to be the preferred financial services provider in Africa. But more importantly, our purpose is grounded in impact. When a Kenyan looks at their financial statement, they should not just see a number. They should see a strategy, a plan, and a future. As we move forward, we invite you to walk this journey with us, to grow your wealth, to deepen your financial understanding, and to build a legacy grounded in discipline and wisdom. Because financial sovereignty is not given, it's built deliberately, consistently, together. Thank you for your trust, your partnership, and your continued commitment. Thank you for your time. I will now hand over to the CEO to give his remarks.
Chairman of Lofty-Corban Directors, present, distinguished unit holders, the regulators and their representative, the trustees, custodian, auditors, esteemed partners, members of the Lofty-Corban team, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a profound honor to welcome you once again to our second annual general meeting of the lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme. Today is not only about presenting numbers or results. It is about reflecting on our journey of trust, learning, discipline, progress. Just over 2 years ago, when lofty-Corban started this journey, we understood that Kenyans did not only need investment products. They needed a partner who could listen, who could simplify, who could educate, and who could work with them. We understood that money is personal. It requires a relationship. It represents hard work, a sacrifice, family dreams, business ambitions, retirement hopes, and the desire for dignity and security. That is why we build lofty-Corban, not from an ivory tower, but from the field. We listen to young professionals beginning their careers. We listen to business owners managing working capital. We listen to families planning for the future. We listen to retirees seeking income and institutions looking for a trusted investment partner. Kenyans are ready to invest, but they want clarity. They are looking for trust. They want easy access, and they are eager to find professional guidance. Today, we are grateful that over 14,000 investors have chosen to trust lofty-Corban with their funds. The number is not just a statistic. It represents individuals, families, businesses, churches, circles, pension schemes, and institutions that have decided their financial future deserves more than just ordinary savings. In building this trust, we have been deliberate about strengthening our internal capacity. Over the past 2 years, the business has invested significantly, building a strong foundation through the recruitment of qualified, skilled, experienced personnel across both investments and operational functions. Today, lofty-Corban has a permanent staff establishment of 23 professionals, supported by over 200 well-trained, experienced, and tested investment consultants. This depth of talent ensures that we grow, we service quality, and clients' engagement is made easier with a very disciplined investment plan which remain uncompromised. It gives our clients the confidence that their investments are supported by a capable, professional, and the advisory level, and within the core management structures. We believe that strong people build strong institutions, and strong institutions safeguard investors' wealth. As at the close of 2025, the unit trust scheme recorded strong growth, as mentioned by the chairman, surpassing 4.7 billion shillings, reflecting a growing investor confidence. And as we speak, as of the end of March 2026, has crossed over 5.2 billion shillings. The Kenya Shillings Money Market Fund led the portfolio with a growth of 81%, from 2.1 billion to 4.4 billion shillings. It was followed by the Fixed Income Fund, which recorded a 607% growth from 15.1 million to 106 million. The Equity Fund increased by 240% from 4.5 million shillings to 15 million shillings. On the foreign currency side, the U.S. Money Market Fund closed at approximately 1.5 million shillings, US dollars, with the USD Bond Fund closing at 11,777. This growth across funds provides investors with options aligned to different risk profiles, return expectations, and investment needs. More importantly, the funds delivered strong and consistent profitability across the portfolios. In aggregate, the unit trust scheme generated approximately 391.8 million shillings and the USD 83,297 US dollars in profit for the year. These earnings have been fully distributed to unit holders in line with the respective fund structures and regulations as interest and dividends. This underscores our commitment to ensuring that the value created through disciplined investment management is directly passed to our clients, reinforcing both trust and long-term wealth creation. Looking at performance trends, the story is encouraging, with the money market fund running between 2023 and 2025. In 2023, 11.52%, 2024, 16.03%, and 2025, 12.2%. That shows a strong foundation of product for liquidity, capital preservation, and stable returns. We have the USD money market fund as well, which in 2023, which only operated for 4 months, 4.73%. In 2024, full year 6.09% and 5.19% in 2025 in dollar terms, offering foreign currency returns and diversification beyond the borders and beyond the Kenya shilling. With our equity fund, which also ran for 4 months in 2023, it returned 3.54%, in 2024, 9.74%, and in 2025, 55.69%. Demonstrating the value of patience and long-term long-term positioning through market cycles. And this is a product that we recommend for people who are looking at the future. The fixed income fund returned 7.36% in 2023. In 2024, it returned 29.63%, and in 2025, returned 23.5%. Showing a strong opportunity in fixed income when interest rate cycles are well understood. And so there's a lot of investment in knowledge that we need to push, and that is why one of our key values and objectives is impact knowledge. We have the umbrella fund on the pension side, which returned 17.61% in 2024 because it started in 2024. And in 2025, it registered 27.84%, and that's a pension plan for small schemes and small organizations, reinforcing the value of early and consistent retirement planning. I think if we want to retire early, we need to plan earlier. And also we need to know that retirement is coming soon. And then we have our individual pension or personal pension plan, which in 2024 returned 16.6%, and that was the year of inception. And in 2025, it returned 23.29%, supporting the long-term retirement growth through disciplined investing. These results reinforce the importance of planning early and investing consistently for retirement. The lesson is simple. There is no single fund that performs the same way in every season. Markets move in cycles. Interest rates change. Equity markets rise and correct. Currency markets shift. The wise investor does not fear the market cycles. The wise investor learns how to position across them. As the wise man said one time, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. For those who have started early, we encourage them to continue investing. For those who feel late, starting. Consider and ask yourself whether your portfolio is properly diversified. consort with us for purposes of making it an efficient portfolio. This is why we encourage every unit holder to engage our professional and skilled team. Our role is not only to receive your money and skilled team. Our role is not only to receive your money. Our role is to help you understand your needs, your investment horizon, to check your risk appetite. Some investors need liquidity, and most importantly, others are looking for retirement planning, while others are looking for growth beyond the borders outside Kenya. Conversation. At lofty-Corban, we continue to build solutions for these different needs. As we've been already highlighted on our money market funds, both Kenya shilling and USD remain ideal for liquidity, emergency funds, short-term savings. Both Kenya shilling and USD remain ideal for liquidity, emergency funds, short-term savings, business cash management, and capital preservation. This is where once you're seeking income and exposure to bond opportunities. While our equity funds are suitable for investors with a longer keen exposure to bond opportunities. While our equity funds are suitable for investors with a longer term view who want to participate in the growth of listed companies. Our pension solutions, the IPP, which is the individual pension plan, the IDD, which is the income drawdown, and the umbrella pension fund, as well as the segregated fund management services, are designed to support retirement, dignity, institutional governance, and long-term financial security. In addition, we have recognized the growing role of chamas and group investing in wealth creation across Kenya. We believe almost everyone belongs to a chama. To support this, we have introduced the lofty-Corban chama investment solution. This solution enables groups to invest collectively while maintaining individual member sub-accounts, where each contribution is properly tracked with the amount, the date, and ensuring accuracy and fair interest allocation or distribution. This structure promotes equity and transparency, eliminating disputes and guesswork among chamas. This platform provides real-time access to balances and earnings, reducing administrative burden for officials while ensuring timely and accurate data for both members and the leadership. It transforms chamas into structured, professionally managed investment vehicles, enhancing confidence, efficiency, and wealth creation. We have also introduced new solutions to respond to emerging investors. The private debt special fund, as mentioned by our chairman, is one of our most important innovations. It was developed to complement the money market fund by offering enhanced returns to clients seeking income above the traditional money market fund returns, while still maintaining a strong capital preservation objective. This fund is designed to offer a return of approximately 4% above the money market fund at all times, with a clear target return of 16% per annum. It is suitable for investors who have built liquidity in the money market fund and now want a structured product that can enhance returns of a defined period. The minimum investment for this fund is Kenya shillings 1 million, with top-ups of 500,000 Kenya shillings. The fund has a 6-month lock-in period and a 3% management fee. And when we talk about the 14%, we are saying that 14% is net of the fees. And once it outperforms the set 16% as the target, anything above that will be exposed to a 10% performance charge, only to returns that are above the target return. And so there are no initial fees in this fund and no redemption fee. It's a very friendly fund. The interest rates are are distributed quarterly, and they are compounded quarterly as well. Now, this structure gives investors clarity, it gives discipline, and an enhanced income potential. It is not a replacement for the money market. It is a complement to it. Money markets give you liquidity and stability. Private debt gives you enhanced income and structured growth. We have also introduced a global asset special fund, a product designed for investors seeking exposure to global opportunities and diversified alternative assets. The fund targets returns of up to 20%, while being professionally managed to mitigate potential risks through diversification, research, and disciplined investment selections. The minimum investment is 100,000 shillings with top-ups of 50,000 shillings. The fund provides semi-annual distributions and gives investors an opportunity to participate in global markets beyond local assets and assets that are not available locally. This is important because wealth today cannot only be viewed locally. The world has become an interconnected arena, and investors must begin to think beyond the borders. There's a saying that says, do not put all your eggs in one basket. That principle is the art of diversification. A strong investor does not choose between liquidity, income, growth, and global exposure. A strong investor builds a portfolio that balances all of them according to the personal goals. As we move forward, technology will be a major part of how we serve you. We have invested in an improved client experience through mobile application, the web portal, digital access to statements, and continuous innovation to ensure that you remain informed and in control of your investment journey at your convenience. Our goal is simple. You should not have to wait. You don't have to struggle. You do not have to depend on paperwork to understand your investments. You should be able to access information, to track performance, to receive updates, and to make informed decisions conveniently and securely. But technology alone is not enough. The real power comes when technology is combined with education, with trust, and with professional advice. That is why our commitment to financial literacy remains central. We will continue to educate investors. We will continue to simplify investment concepts, and we will continue to help more Kenyans move from passive saving to intentional investing. To our unit holders, I leave you with a challenge. Do not only ask, how much return did I earn? But also ask, is my money aligned to my goals? Do not only ask, where is the highest return? But ask, what is the right structure for my stage of life? Do not only save, but invest, diversify, continue learning, review, continuously, and ensure you act. Wealth is built by discipline, not by chance. The future will favor those who act with knowledge, with consistency, and with courage. At lofty-Corban, I reinforce our mission remains to prudently empower our clients to achieve financial freedom. We are guided by our core values of professionalism, ownership, and agility. And this is very simplified because it goes to our Kiswahili greeting, sasa. So you should never forget our core values. When we say sasa, in Kenya we say poa. And so poa is professionalism, ownership, and agility. We will continue to manage your funds with care. We will act with accountability. We will respond to changing market needs, and we will serve you with integrity. In closing, money is not just currency. Money represents time. Money represents sacrifice. Money represents labor. Money represents dreams. And money represents responsibility. When you entrust your money with us, you entrust us with part of your life's work. We do not take that lightly. To our unit holders, thank you for your trust. To the trustee, to the custodian, to the auditors, to the regulators, and to our partners, thank you for the oversight and the support. To the lofty-Corban team, thank you for your dedication, your professionalism, and your belief in this mission. Let us continue building a generation of informed, disciplined, financially empowered investors. Let us keep learning, let us keep investing, and let us keep building. Thank you, Chair, and back to you.
Thank you, Chairman and CEO, for those insightful remarks. We have now dealt with agenda items 1 to 4. Dear unit holders, please note that an opportunity was provided for you to submit questions. Additionally, we have some unit holders who posted their questions prior to the meeting, and this will be answered during the question and answer session. Please note that we might not be able to respond to all the questions raised due to time limitations, and therefore, all the questions received shall be collated and responses shared to your registered email, and recording of this session will be uploaded on the company's website for your reference. You may ask questions at any time during the AGM through the online access by selecting the question and answer tab on the AGM display screen or the Zoom platform embedded on the AGM digital platform. I will now proceed to agenda item 5, which is to receive, consider, and if approved, adopt the annual report and financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2025, together with the auditor's opinion. We shall kick off by considering the audited financial statements. I will therefore request the Finance Manager, Nicholas Mwachilumo, to present the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2025. Welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Nicholas Mwachilumo, the Finance Manager at lofty-Corban Investments Limited. Welcome to the second annual general meeting of the lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme. Thank you for joining this virtual meeting. I will now take you through the 2025 financial highlights for our 6 managed funds. Detailed financial statements are available on our website at lofty-Corban.com. The Kenya Shilling Money Market Fund. The total income was up 123% to close at 446 million shillings, where the expenses were 68 million shillings and a profit of 387 million shillings was recorded. The profit grew 118% from the previous year. Now, this profit represents interest income generated and distributed to members during the year. The total assets of the fund grew more than 80% to close at 4.4 billion shillings, up from 2.4 billion shillings. Service provider payables at year-end were 5.4 million shillings, and the service providers in this case are a trustee, custodian, fund manager, and the auditor. The Special Money Market Fund. This fund recorded a profit of 6.1 million shillings from a total income of 13.7 million shillings. Now, this represents a decline from 2024, where the income was 46 million shillings and the profit was 43 million shillings. This was driven by a reduced client base and a shrinking asset base. Consequently, the fund closed the year with total assets of 1.77 million shillings, which were fully offset by equivalent payables to the service providers, leaving no net funds attributable to unit holders. The USD Money Market Fund, the performance improved with total income rising to $91,500, whereas in 2024 it was at $57,700, resulting in a net profit of $82,900. The net assets stood at $1.15 million. The Kenya Shillings Bond Fund. In terms of growth in assets, this fund achieved the highest growth in the scheme. Total income rose by over 460% from 1.9 million shillings to 10.8 million shillings. Profit followed suit, jumping from 1.7 million shillings to 9.9 million shillings. Most notably, net assets attributable to unit holders grew from 15 million shillings to 106 million shillings. The USD Bond Fund. The net assets grew 48% to $11,700. This growth generated a total revenue of $440, resulting in a net profit of $366, up from $143 in 2024. The sixth fund is the Equity Fund. This primarily invests in securities on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The fund saw a substantial profit increase to 3.2 million shillings. The net assets closed at 15.2 million shillings, representing a 240% increase from the 4.4 million shillings reported previously. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Nicholas. We shall now proceed to consider the audited financial statements. I will therefore request Richard Ochako, representing the auditors, Ochako and Associates, to read the auditor's report. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, unit holders. My name is CPA Richard Ochako. Report on the audit of the financial statements opinion. We have audited the financial statements of Lofty-Corban Unit Trust, the scheme, as set out on pages 13 to 66, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31st December 2025, and the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, statement of changes in unit holders' balances, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, including material accounting policies. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the scheme as at 31st December 2025 and of its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, as issued by the International Accounting Standards Board and the requirements of the capital markets, that is collective investments, regulations 2023. The engagement leader responsible for this audit, resulting in this independent auditor's report, is CP Richard Ogoro Ochako, practicing number 2171. Ochako and Associates, Certified Public Accountants, Nairobi. Thank you, and back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Nicholas and Richard. I'd like to request for a proposer and seconder for the minutes of the first AGM, the annual report and the audited financial statements of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme. This is for the financial year ended 31st December 2025. I confirm that Masharia Collins Jigwa has proposed and Kanogo Teresa Wanjugu has seconded the adoption of the minutes of the first AGM, annual report, and audited financial statements of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme for the financial year ended 31st December 2025. We will then move on to the fund manager's report, and I would like to invite Teddy Younger, representing the fund manager, Lofty-Corban Investments Limited, to present on the fund performance and the economic overview. Welcome, Teddy.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, unit holders. My name is Teddy Younger, Investment Manager at Lofty-Corban Investments Limited, and in this case, I'll be representing the fund manager, who is Lofty-Corban Investments Limited. For this specific presentation, we'll be looking at who the fund manager is in terms of their roles, and also looking at what specifically happened in the year 2025 and what we expect to see in the year 2026. Because the environment that we operate in is the environment that enables us to generate the returns that we generate to the unit holders. So our key role as the investment manager is to advise and act on behalf of the trustees. This is to touch on all matters that touch on investment, operations, and compliance. So our actions are only meant to act on behalf of the fund trustee, which is KCB trustees. This is therefore given in specific roles. I've just highlighted just a number of the roles that the fund manager plays. One of the key roles that we play is to advise and devise investment strategies for the scheme on behalf of the scheme trustees through asset allocation, security selection, and portfolio monitoring in order to achieve the scheme's investment objectives. So investment is a process that covers asset allocation in terms of understanding where we are going to allocate the funds to the different asset classes, choosing specific securities in which we can investment in, and continuously monitor how the fund is performing by reviewing the specific securities and the markets in which we are operating in. Secondly, we ensure that the scheme operates within the regulatory frameworks set by the Capital Markets Authority, which cuts across investment restrictions, reporting, and licenses. So at all times, we have to make sure that the fund operates within the Capital Markets Authority collective investments schemes, regulations, mandate. We also do oversee the day-to-day operations of the scheme, which includes pricing and valuation, liaising with other service providers, that is the custodian and the trustee, which is KCB, the custodian being Equity Bank, who is the fiscal holder of the scheme assets. So at all times, we have to make sure that we are in congruence with these scheme key stakeholders. And lastly, identification and mitigation of risks that could harm investors' capital, including liquidity and market risk. So this is also a continuous process that we also do to ensure that the scheme assets or the unit holders' funds are always safe, and any risks that face these funds are continuously identified and mitigated in time. Now, the next is to look at the market environment in which we operated in the year 2025, because we've seen the fund performance that has been highlighted by the CEO, Mr. Stanley Mutuku. Of course, those were generated in an environment that had some specific characteristics, because we're coming from a year that was 2024 that was quite unstable in terms of our macroeconomic factors. But just to look at it from an overall perspective, and just recently, as yesterday, looking at the numbers that came out, GDP growth from an overall perspective slowed down to 4.6% in 2025, down from 4.7% in 2024. And if you look at the trend, it's still down from 5% that was registered in 2023. That trend was mainly occasioned by a slowdown in agriculture and manufacturing, which is key sectors of the performance in our economy. Agricultural sector takes about 23% of the economy. If the growth in that sector slowed down to 2.8% from around 6% the previous year, then you find that growth affected the overall growth for GDP. But all that said and done, in 2025 we operated in an environment that was quite stable in terms of the macroeconomic factors. And when we speak to macroeconomic factors, we look at those factors that enable investments and businesses to thrive in the economy. And most of these starts with specifically interest rates. We operated in an environment whereby interest rates were coming from a very high base that was in 2024, but in 2025 we saw interest rates reduce significantly from looking at the base rate. That went to a high of almost 13.25 in 2023. In 2025, this reduced to 9%. That was again compared to 11.25 in 2024. So what this basically meant was that generally interest rates in the economy were coming down. So it gave access to private businesses to access credit, or we can say cheaper credit for that matter. So that was also replicated in our investment, key investment vehicles, including the government treasury bills and treasury bonds, whereby interest rates also dropped. Looking at the 91-day, 92 and 364-day papers, dropped to 7.81%, 7.85 and 9.35% respectively, from 9.89, 10.02 and 11.41% at the end of 2024. So in as much as this was directly impacting returns, especially on the money market fund, it was good for the economy in terms of businesses to thrive and grow. But also on the other hand, as interest rates were coming down, you find that other asset classes, including the longer term government treasury bonds and equities, were gaining in value. So as interest rates drop, on the other hand, this directly impacts returns on the short term investments, that is money market funds. But long term investments, including treasury bonds and equity funds, gained significantly. So as that also has been replicated in the returns that have been shared, and as I will share in this presentation. Also, the key aspect or the key reason why interest rates were coming down was because inflation was also coming down. But the ripple effect of that was also to encourage or to give a conducive environment for the private sector to access credit. And this has been indicated by the private sector credit growth, as at December 2025 had grown 6%. Remember, at the beginning of the year, private sector credit growth was at a contraction phase. Contraction here, we mean that the growth was a negative growth. I think that was around Jan or Feb of 2025, where private sector credit growth did a negative 2%. So as private sector accesses credit, then it's a good thing for the economy to grow. Also, the other factor that we can say significantly stabilized was the general increases in prices of goods and services. And this is a key measure that we need to look at as we make our investment, because at all times as we do our webinars and as we advise clients, we always make sure that clients understand that the returns in where they do their investment should at all times be above the general increases in prices of goods and services, because that's when you can know that either you're generating wealth, increasing your wealth, or your wealth is being degraded. And that factor is what we call the purchasing power. So in 2025, as of December, the growth in prices of goods and services was increasing at 4.5%. Of course, remember, this is down from 2023 when we reached a high of almost 9%. So it's something that points to an environment that was quite stable. Of course, immediately after they went down, they went to 3%, but they started going back upwards. And this was mainly driven by the base effect, that because inflation is measured on a year-to-year basis, but also prices of energy and food prices also started going upwards. The other factor we'll be looking at is the shilling. Again, we operated with a very stable shilling. That is for the whole of 2025, hovering around the 129, 130. So that's key because it portrays stability and gives confidence to foreign investors to deploy their monies into our market. So the next slide shows how the funds have grown. A trend over the years, that is since inception, 2023 to 2025. Of course, for the year 2025, the funds grew 60%, but on an overall perspective, the funds have registered an annual growth of 162%. So that just shows how the funds have been growing and the trust that unit holders have entrusted into us. The next slide just shows the performance. Of course, this has already been highlighted by the CEO, Mr. Stanley Mutuku. But then again, when you look at this performance, as I've been explaining, you find that returns on the short-term funds, looking at the money market fund, both the Kenya shilling and USD money market fund, were quite lower compared to the returns that were being given by equity funds and the fixed income funds. And the main reason for that is the fact that as interest rates were coming down, that was a direct impact on the money market funds. But that was a benefit to the long-term funds, that is equity funds and fixed income fund, because these two funds are mainly based on fund valuations. And with the valuations, as interest rates come down, valuations usually move upwards. So there was some significant benefit there. Moving on to the next slide, that talks about our expectation for the year 2026. That is outlook for the 2026 and how that is going to impact the performance for the funds. Generally, what we've seen, or we were too optimistic, very much optimistic at the beginning of the year. The year started on very well, but about March there, we saw what's been happening in the Middle East, especially with the war with Iran, US, and Israel. So what that has done is there's been a general increase in the energy prices. So that will impact us directly, because one of the key things that we're looking at is the rise in prices of goods and services. So if energy prices rise, then it means all other sectors will be affected, be it food, be it transport, be it even the services sector. So what that will do is a rise in the prices of goods and services. That is measured by inflation. And when you look at inflation figures for the latest month, that is April 2026, came in at around 5.6%. That is up from 4.4% the previous month. So that just tells us that if this situation prolongs, then we could see inflation levels increase significantly. That would affect our levels of interest rates. So we could again start seeing our interest rates moving upwards. So if that happens, then again, as I have explained earlier, this is again a direct impact on our short-term funds, that is the money market funds. We will see some increases in the returns that we have on the money market funds, but we also could be having some negative impacts on our other funds, that is the fixed income funds and the equity funds. But we're monitoring the environment keenly and taking strategic actions to ensure that returns to the client are not significantly affected. So in a nutshell and an overall angle, we expect to see interest rates slightly move upwards. That is if the overall or the war in the Middle East that affects energy prices prolongs. That will impact interest rates probably in the short term, because it's not something that will extend for the longest, I believe. So if it impacts interest rates, then it will also impact the returns that we give our clients. But I can assure you that we're taking actions to ensure that the returns that we give to our clients remain competitive. The other key risks that we see that could hamper growth in 2025, and that has been in existence for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, is our high deficit in terms of our revenues and expenses. That is from the government angle. So we have a lot of needs that need to be funded through debt. So with debt then comes reduced spending on development. So that's another area that we could see affect performance for the economy. So that's, in a nutshell, what the fund manager has been doing. And thank you, Chair, and back to you.
Thank you, Teddy, for that insightful presentation and the detailed updates on the various unit trust funds. I will now request Sheila Odera from Equity Bank Kenya Limited, our custodian, to present their custodian report. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, unit holders. My name is Sheila Odera from Equity Custody. I'll take us through the custody report. So the first slide, I'll make us understand who is a custodian, roles of a custodian, and what a custodian does. So a custodian is a licensed bank by the Central Bank of Kenya, approved by the Capital Markets Authority and the Retirement Benefits Authority to hold in custody funds, securities, financial instruments, or documents of title of the assets of an investment portfolio for the investors. The regulatory framework of a custodian: the custodian must be licensed under the Banking Act. The custodian must be licensed as an authorized depository by the Capital Markets Authority. Equally, the custodian must be licensed by the Retirement Benefit Authority. The roles of a custodian: as the fund's custodian, we are charged with the responsibility of keeping the financial assets of the fund safe and servicing the portfolios related to those assets. We do this by ensuring that the funds are safe, by safekeeping of funds assets and asset servicing. Our role as a custodian is to ensure that the fund's assets are safeguarded at all times. The primary goal of the fund manager is to optimize the investment returns that it makes on the investment asset, as the custodian does investment administration. This operating model allows transparency of operations, reduces risk, and adds value to the investment portfolio. The core responsibility of a custodian includes, but are not limited to, safekeeping, transaction processing and settlement services, capital and income collection, corporate action, proxy voting, activity reporting, cash management services, as well as compliance monitoring and reporting. The custodian must maintain a segregated bank account for the fund and ensure that any income or contributions received are credited to the fund accounts. We must equally periodically report to the trustee on quarterly basis. The custodian must keep proper books of record of the fund, and we must maintain technical capacity and adequate operational systems. We do this by ensuring that the fund have various, that we open various accounts for safekeeping purposes, that is the cash accounts to hold cash. We equally CDSC account, that is for holding of the equities investment, as well as CBK accounts for holding of government securities, that is the treasury bond and treasury bills. The assets of all customers are held in segregated accounts. In case of tax exemptions, we equally register them on the accounts upon receipt of the exemption certificates. Investment transactions are processed for local and offshore equities, government securities, such as the treasury bills and bonds, corporate bonds, commercial papers, fixed and demand deposits. Dear unit holders, we want to assure you that the assets for the funds exist and they are safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. I will now proceed to give the trustees' commentary. As per the agenda, I wish to confirm that the detailed trustees' report is contained within the audited financial report on page 4, and I will proceed to read it. The corporate trustee of the lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme is pleased to present its report to the unit holders for the year ended 31st December 2025. In accordance with the Capital Markets Collective Investment Schemes Regulations 2023, the trust deed between KCB Bank Kenya Limited, the trustee, and lofty-Corban Investments Limited, the fund manager, and the information memorandum, we confirm that during the year under review, the trustee has fulfilled all duties and responsibilities prescribed under the regulations and the trust deed. The scheme and its sub-funds were operated in accordance with the approved scheme documents, the regulations, and the applicable laws. The trustee has exercised continuous oversight over the fund manager's activities and confirms that all investment decisions were made within the investment policy, strategy, and limits set out in the scheme documents and the regulations. The fund manager adhered to the investment powers granted and did not exceed the mandate conferred by the trust deed or the regulations. Pricing, valuation, unit creation, and redemption processes were reviewed periodically and found to be in accordance with the regulatory requirements. The trustee confirms that no conflict of interest were identified that would prejudice the interests of the unit holders. The interests of all participants were treated as paramount in all matters relating to the scheme. In line with the regulatory obligations, the trustee monitored the scheme for any irregularities or undesirable practices. Where concerns arise, the trustee is required to notify the fund manager and, where not resolved, to notify the Capital Markets Authority. For the period under review, no irregularities or undesirable practices were observed by the trustee. The trustee has ensured that all scheme assets were properly held, registered, and safeguarded for the benefits of UDR unit holders. Based on the oversight performed during the year, the trustee is certified that the scheme was managed in accordance with the applicable regulations and the governing documents. The fund manager conducted its duties with due skill, care, and diligence. Unit holders' interests were adequately protected throughout the year. This was signed for and on behalf of the corporate trustee, KCB Bank Kenya Limited. Thank you. At this moment, I would like to welcome David Gitau, who will give a presentation on adapting to change and achieving financial goals. Welcome, David.
Thank you, trustees. Warren Buffett once said, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. This statement, though made quite some while back, is more relevant today than ever before, because we are living in a world where things are changing daily. Economies are changing on a daily basis. This economic change is here to stay, and it has been constant. But the key question is, are you prepared for that change? As an investor, your biggest enemy is inflation, the cost of living. The key question again here is, how have you structured your money in such a way that on a 3-year basis, your average returns have beaten inflation? They say opportunity favors the prepared, opportunity favors the brave. Do you have what we call a special opportunities fund? You know that feeling where you say every so often, I wish I had money, I would have done this and this, I would have invested here and there. The question is again, is your money working for you? You work very hard for your money. Money must return the favor and work for you. Being successful financially does not depend on where you went to school, how educated you are. It is all in your mind. It is all about behavior. Those small things we take for granted, like budgeting. Yes, people will say budgeting is just a systematic way of going broke. But it is always better to know where your money went than to wonder where it went. I'll bet you, after this long weekend, on Monday, 90% of you will be wondering, I started off with this amount of money, but you can't simply account for your money. You must, at all times, tell your money where to go. You must give it direction. Money is meant to move around. If you don't tell it where to go, in Kiswahili they say, pesa itajipatia shughuli. In a nutshell, where are you supposed to begin? We first begin by understanding the things that will make us not achieve our goals. And those are the pitfalls that you must avoid at all costs. Many of us are employed. We come up with strategic plans for our employers. But unfortunately, we don't have any plans for our own money. Those of you who are in business, who are entrepreneurs, you must demarcate that business from yourself. You are not the business and the business is not you. You must figure out a way to pay yourself a salary, and at the end of the year, pay yourself some dividends. And with that money that you're paying yourself as a salary, have a clear plan. Many of us are dogged with the issue of inconsistent investing. You get your money at the end of the month, but something always funny happens. Every end month, somebody somewhere is sick, a relative, and money just finds its way out. Have an automated way that money leaves your source of income, whether it is your employer or your business, direct into some investment account. Again, many of us will say, or if I say high risk, many of us will say high return. High risk, high return. But that's the wrong way of thinking about it. High risk, high potential return, because the potential for loss is equally as high. So the issue of just chasing quick returns, quick money, is one of the fastest ways to become poor. And of course, is your money just sitting idle somewhere in the bank, not working for you? At lofty-Corban, we believe in going back to the basics. Haba na haba hujaza kibaba. Little by little fills the jar. For some of us, little by little fills the stomach. We were taught that in Primo, way back. We just didn't link it to investing. The other thing is that you must always avoid the crowd. When guys are going east, you don't necessarily have to go east with them. You can as well go west. Those impulsive investment decisions we make just because of the fear of missing out needs to end. We must stay focused for the long haul. Investing is long term. As Warren Buffett again likes to say, you cannot get a baby in 1 month by making 9 women pregnant. Investing takes time. In a nutshell, ensure you have very clear goals, you're very consistent and disciplined. In short, have an investor mindset. That is what at lofty-Corban we try to inculcate in our clients. And again, back to basics. When we say time is money, every day, every month, every year that you procrastinate on that investment decision, you are losing out on the issue of compounding. Compounding is the greatest investment force in the world. It just simply means your money is earning interest, and the earlier it earns interest, the better for you. It is always advisable to let the heavy thinking and the heavy lifting be done by the fund manager. That's why they are there. That is always advisable you go through collective investment schemes. But that does not mean that in as much as you're investing through a collective investment scheme, it doesn't mean that you should not know how those investments work. You should always balance between having liquid cash for emergencies as well as your overall returns. Have investments that are dealing with capital gains and others that are also bringing in some form of cash flow. And again, I repeat, avoid the crowd. Avoid speculation. There's a big difference between speculation and investing. So be an investor, not a speculator. When you speculate, that is essentially guesswork. We know that you have dreams. You want that big house in a ranch somewhere. Or if you already have that house, you want maybe to build a second house, a holiday home. We know you want to take your kids on vacation, your family, or even yourself. We know you have that dream car in your mind that you want to park in your garage, your own garage. See hapo kwa ploti, where the landlord has put a perimeter wall, corner to corner, you have to park outside. No, your own garage. We know that you want to cater for emergencies. In short, we know that you want to build wealth so that ultimately you have peace of mind. We also know that getting there is a very big enemy. And like I said earlier, that enemy is inflation, the cost of living that is being caused by both external and internal factors. High taxes, high price of oil, etc. But at the end of the day, we also know that investing is very confusing. Trying to balance your budget is very taxing on the brain. Sometimes you try to balance your budget, it goes negative, meaning you have to borrow to survive. And we know all this is causing you confusion. So many products are there in the market, all manner of people coming to give you advice. We understand all this. And that is where Lofty comes in to guide you on that journey. Because we understand the stress that you are undergoing to secure your future and your family's future. We understand the confusion that you're going through. But the beauty about it is we've been there, we've done that, and we've guided very many before. So what do we do at lofty-Corban in terms of guiding you? We essentially come up with a plan that ensures that you will achieve those dreams that you are harboring. But more importantly, you avoid failure. Because the biggest risk you face as investors or as individuals is the risk of not achieving your dreams, because that essentially equates to sadness. We do not want your children to be your retirement plan. Those are the things we are trying to avoid. But beyond all that, we want to transform your life so that at the end of the day, you're a very knowledgeable investor who nobody can ever cheat or take for granted. So what do you need to do? As our CEO had said, get in touch with our consultants. We will come up and review your current status, both social and financial. Understand your net worth, understand your income and expenses, understand how much money you have left, help you set clear goals, and very importantly, match an investment to each of these goals so that your portfolio ends up being very balanced. You're able to invest consistently, and after that, we help you track your wealth so that ultimately you achieve your goals. At Lofty-Corban, we believe in three things. One is empowerment. We empower you. We then help you, guide you to invest so that you can prosper. So remember those three words: empower, invest, prosper. And with that, I leave you with a very important message about the language of money. Money speaks only one language, and it simply says, save me today, and I will save you tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, David. As explained earlier, all questions submitted before and during this AGM and the answers thereto will be collated and shared with all the unit holders via email. And the recording of this session will be uploaded on the company's website for your reference. We shall now proceed to the approval of the resolutions placed before this meeting. The first resolution is to receive, consider, and if deemed fit, adopt the minutes of the first AGM, annual report, and audited financial statements of the Lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme for the financial year ended 31st December 2025. I request for a proposer and seconder. I confirm that Masharia Collins Jigwa has proposed and Kanogo Teresa Wanjugu has seconded the first resolution. Moving on to the second resolution, which is to approve the appointment or reappointment of the auditors of the scheme and to authorize the trustee fund manager to fix their remuneration. I request for a proposer and seconder. I confirm that Ototo Edwin Guaro has proposed and Gisharu David Mwangi has seconded the second resolution. On to the third resolution, which is to approve the introduction of 3 subclasses of the Kenya Shilling Money Market Fund to replace the Special Money Market Fund, allowing investors to lock in funds for a specified period as follows. Class A for a period of 3 months, Class B for a period of 6 months, and Class C for a period of 12 months. I will now read the explanatory note that accompanied this resolution. The trustee and management seek member ratification to introduce Class A, B, and C as subclasses under the Lofty-Corban Money Market Fund. This proposal is informed by client feedback indicating a preference for structured investment options with defined holding periods and predictable income distribution. And this is also aligned with the regulatory requirements given that the underlying investments are strictly money market instruments. The subclasses will provide enhanced flexibility as follows. Class A will provide a quarterly distribution, that is 3 months. Class B will provide a semi-annual distribution, which is 6 months. And Class C will provide an annual distribution, which is 12 months. The Lofty-Corban Money Market Fund, the Kenya Shilling Money Market Fund remains unchanged as the core fund, with the subclasses enhancing investor choice while maintaining the fund's focus on capital preservation, liquidity, and stable returns. This initiative is designed to respond to investor needs, ensure regulatory compliance, and strengthen the fund's long-term objective of liquidity. The trustee therefore recommends approval of this proposal as being in the best interest of all unit holders. I kindly request for a proposer and seconder for this third resolution. I confirm that Thomas Brenda Awinja has proposed and Eugene Okoth Obiero has seconded the third resolution. Dear unit holders, the resolutions have been duly proposed now and seconded and remain subject to the outcome of the electronic voting process. Final results shall be published in accordance with the AGM notice. Having concluded on the presentations, we will now move on to the question and answer session, and I will request our CEO, Mr. Stanley Mutuku, to take us through the questions raised by the unit holders and to request the panel here to respond. Over to you, Stanley. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to read through the questions that have already come. Question 1 is from Stephen Murungi, and is asking, why can the interest be credited daily instead of monthly? And since interest is credited monthly, compounding effect is felt the following month. React to this statement. That is question 1. Question 2 is from Deborah Magoma and is asking, let's assume I have put my money in money market in the 3-month class and I get an emergency I did not anticipate. Can I still access my money before the 3 months are over? Allow me to request Teddy Younger to respond to these questions.
Stanley, and thank you, Stephen and Deborah, for those 2 questions. So starting with Stephen's question on if we can distribute interest on a daily basis as opposed to the monthly distribution. One, behind interest distribution, there is a lot of operational and administration work that goes through it. So the reason interest is being distributed monthly is to reduce on administration cost. Now, introducing daily distribution, it will mean that that cost that is behind the scenes that ensures that that interest is distributed goes upwards. So if it goes upwards, at the end of the day, you'll find that the benefits for distributing daily underweights the benefits for distributing monthly. So it's more of a cost issue rather than just a distribution issue. So I think distributing monthly is just optimal for all these, for that specific fund. Distributing daily will introduce costs that at the end of the day will eat up the returns that you've earned for that specific day. On to the question for Deborah, with regards to accessibility of the funds under the subclasses of the money market fund. This is mentioned that this fund is mainly geared to those clients who would prefer to have their monies restricted, the access of their monies restricted for specific periods, mainly because of their investment objectives that they have from their standpoint. So what lofty-Corban does is to give that option for the client to not be able to exert that money for either 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, just to align with what the objectives of the client state. But that said, the subclasses do not restrict access. It just matches with what your objective is. But if in between something happens and you need to access that fund, then the funds can just be unlocked and you'll be able to access. So it's not purely restricting access within those 3 months. But if you make your investment objectives, you find that you might need this money before that period ends, then we have our normal money market fund, which basically serves that specific objective. So just to make sure that you do not mix the two. If you will need access, just go for the normal money market fund. If you want your access of funds restricted, then you can choose either of the classes that have been presented to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Teddy. And for clients who have access to our mobile application as well as the web portal, you are able to tell your interest, uncredited interest, on a daily basis. And so you will be able to see how much you are earning on a daily basis. And so there is no room for you to worry. The most important thing is you can be able even to calculate at every point, awaiting the monthly distributions. Allow me to go to the next question. And the next question is coming from Waigwa Penina Waithira. And she's starting by introducing herself. My name is Penina, and I am an entrepreneur running a couple of beauty shops. At the beginning of the meeting, I heard the CEO mention pension products. How can I go about investing in pensions? And I will make a statement at this point before I ask David to respond. Pension becomes the most important objective for any person in our population today. And it's because I have been putting an analogy that we work for maximum 40 years if you start working at 20. And you retire, if you're lucky to live until 60, you retire. And then you live for the period between 60, if you're lucky to live until 100, you have 40 years. And I love this question because it's addressing the greatest fear in our society. And so how do you finance the 40 years, remembering that you have worked for 40 years? And those 40 years you have worked, the money you have earned must finance 80 years. The 40 years you are working and the 40 years you are retired. And I call upon David maybe to give us some slight wisdom on how then do we encourage ourselves and guide our investors towards planning for pensions.
Thank you, Penina, for that question. But before I answer directly to that particular question, I need to emphasize one of the things at lofty-Corban we do when we engage with corporates, and in particularly the small and medium enterprises. One of them is to work with senior management, the CEO, the CFOs, and even the boards in a round-table discussions on how we can help them increase their revenue. And our revenue targets, depending on the kind of business, is usually between 7 to 10% by introducing another line item called investment or other income. The other thing that we do with corporates is to assist in increasing the productivity of their employees, of their staff. And how do we do that? We have a staff empowerment program where we come to corporates at no cost to just empower their staff on matters personal finance. So we will talk about investments, we will talk about debt, we will talk about budgeting, and so forth. And then finally, one of the things we do is to, again, sit with senior management and even the boards of those SMEs to advise and to provide basically pension advisory. Now, going direct to Penina's question, how can she invest in a pension, or how can she contribute to a pension as an individual? First of all, recall what I said about if you're in business, one of the things that you must do is first demarcate yourself from the business. In short, give yourself a salary. And once you do that, once you have a pay slip, you can invest directly from your salary into what we call the individual pension plan. One of the things that this does, and which is the greatest advantage, remember when we talked about compounding, is that that money will grow tax-free. Yes, it will be taxed at the end, but you will have more money at the end of the investment horizon when you retire than if you are just taking money from the business and just investing it in a non-pension product. The other thing, because I'm sure, Benina, you love your staff, you can also encourage them, and we can even get the system automated such that a portion of their salary goes direct into an individual pension plan. Secondly, we can also, would also advise you, in case you want to start a pension scheme for your staff, we can come in and guide you and advise you on how best to do that. And essentially for small and medium enterprises, would then put you in what we call the umbrella fund or the umbrella pension fund. This is a pooled fund that contains very many small corporates, typically like yours. And the advantage of that is that you don't have to set up a scheme by yourself. The scheme is already set up. So all you have to do is just move all your stuff onto the scheme. And generally, when we talk about the safety of your money in any of the lofty-Corban pension products, they are structured very much like the collective investment schemes. And again, we are fortunate to have KCB as the trustee of the pension schemes. So they're the ones who are looking out for you to ensure that your money is safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Commercial Officer and our Investment Manager for those responses. And allow me just to brush through what he has just said. As an individual, you need to plan for your retirement. And you need to start as early as you can. And remember, in my speech, we said, if you've started, continue. If you've not started, start. And if you are already investing, or if you are in a pension scheme, please pump in more. The time is coming for you to do that. Now, the individual pension plan is for anybody, starting from when someone is starting to work to those ones who are remaining with 1 year. You can still start and still continue pumping some money for the 1 year. And we say the minimum starting amount is 500 shillings, and you can top up with 100 shillings at any given time. On the retiring people, if you are just about to leave employment, once you leave employment, you get your lump sum. And you get an opportunity to choose where to put the money, because you'll get the 1/3 as cash. But the 2/3, the law requires you to put it in a scheme. Now, we have two options at that point. The option of doing an income drawdown or an annuity, where an annuity is an insurance product. From the fund management side, we are licensed to do the income drawdown. Now, the income drawdown, it would be the best place to pump your money, where the return will be a minimum of 12%. And we normally say you get to access at least 12% of your money as per regulation every year. You can either decide to split that on monthly basis, quarterly basis, half-yearly basis, or you just receive it once a year. And so at that point, you are assured that you will have money running on you on a very long time. Now, after you lock yourself for 10 years in such a product, then after the first 10 years, you are given a leeway also to either take your cash out or push it back to another income drawdown for 5 years, or you can go and push it to an annuity, an insurance where it guarantees you for a lifetime, depending on the plan that you choose. And so that's another option. And then for the small and medium enterprises, as David has said, each organization wants to take care of its employees. And one of the ways of taking care of your employees is starting a scheme for them. Now, where we have the umbrella fund, it saves you the agony and nuisance of starting a scheme from within your organization. And so what we do is we sign up with you, and you transfer that burden to us, because we have an established scheme with trustees, with administrators, and with an investment manager. And so you will not be dealing with the issues of your organization pension plan on a daily basis. So you transfer that, and so you minimize the cost, and you also minimize the headache of managing that fund. And so you're welcome to start a scheme or a pension plan for your employees with us. On the other end, we are also mandated to manage a fund or schemes, pension schemes, who are already independent and set up, and we come in as the fund manager. And so we've been tried, we have been tested, we have done this, and we can give you the value that you're looking for. If you looked at the returns that we registered, then the story is very clear. So allow me to return this to the chair and say that any other questions that are flowing, either through the virtual plan, we are going to collect them. We are going to get the answers to them, and we shall be able to upload them and share them with yourselves for responses. You are also allowed to write directly to us through service at lofty-Corban Investments Limited, so that we can be able to respond to any urgent queries. Thank you, and God bless you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Stanley, CEO. Unit holders, you have received an SMS or email prompt to cast your votes. Please note that voting is still open and closes today at 1 p.m. Kenyan time. The instructions on how to cast a vote are available for reference on the AGM notice, which is on the company's website. The results of the poll shall be published on the company's website 72 hours after the meeting. I will now invite Eunice, the company secretary, to read the resolutions to be passed.
Thank you, Chair. The resolutions to be passed by the unit holders are as follows. Number 1, to receive, consider, and if deemed fit, adopt the minutes of the first AGM, annual report and audited financial statements of the lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme for the financial year ended 31st December 2025. Number 2, to approve the appointment or reappointment of the auditors of the scheme and authorize the trustee or fund manager to fix their remuneration. Number 3, to approve the introduction of 3 subclasses of the Kenya Shillings Money Market Fund to replace the Special Money Market Fund, allowing investors to lock in funds for specified periods as follows: Class A, 3 months, Class B, 6 months, and Class C, 12 months. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, our Secretary. We are now at agenda item 7, which is to address any other business, and I request our company secretary to confirm if we have received any A or B.
Thank you, Chair. I confirm that we have not received any other business.
Dear unit holders, ladies and gentlemen, we will now conclude on the business of this annual general meeting. Once again, please note that all queries will be collated and the responses shared via your registered email, and recording of this session will be uploaded on the company's website for your reference. We have now reached the end of our meeting, and I would like to invite Wamboi Jogu to give a vote of thanks. Welcome, Wamboi.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, unit holders. My great appreciation goes to the unit holders for making time to attend this meeting, our board of directors, the management team, and the entire AGM organizing committee who have made this AGM successful. I also take this opportunity to acknowledge the support provided by all the service providers, Ochako and Associates, who are the auditors, KCB Bank Kenya Limited, the trustees, Equity Bank Kenya Limited, the custodian, and Custody and Registrars Group for their work towards the success of this electronic meeting. I also take this opportunity to appreciate you, our esteemed clients, for attending the second lofty-Corban Unit Trust Scheme Annual General Meeting. Thank you, and back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Wamboi. We wish to end with a word of prayer, and I would like to invite Mark Muchugia for the closing prayer.
Thank you, Chair. Let's give thanks. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us to have a very successful AGM today. And we pray that as we go out and till the land, as we go out into our businesses, as we go out to our employment, that all that we do, O God, you will provide us with the grace and even expand our tents, that we may be able to have more to invest, O Lord. Bless us bless us, O Lord, as investors, and bless all our efforts. And this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. Dear unit holders, ladies and gentlemen, I now declare the meeting closed. Have a good day.
So lofty-Corban is an investment management firm licensed by the Capital Markets Authority to offer investment services, and also licensed and regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority for pension management services. lofty-Corban has been there now for 3 years in terms of its life registration, but in the market in terms of from the first day we went to the market, 2.5 years. And what we thank God for is the company has penetrated itself, it has introduced itself, and is already in the minds of investors in this country. lofty-Corban, the way it started was by establishing gaps that were existing in the market, and came in to bridge that gap of financial literacy, because there is no relationship between people and their money, and that is a gap that we want to create, to close, that people can create a relationship with their money. Investments are very unique and not easily understandable by the common man, and we want to make it palatable to the common man. If you look at the meaning of the words of lofty-Corban Investments Limited, lofty is an elevated position in English, and Corban is an Hebrew word which is found in Mark 7:11, and we are there to offer an elevated service as a sacrifice to God, because when you read Mark, you find Corban is set aside for God. And so we are here to offer an elevated service in the investment services as a sacrifice to God. So as you interact with the lofty-Corban, relate with you're being served, and you're set aside for better returns just to glorify God. Our call is to urge investors in Kenya
to come and internalize investments. We want to make knowledge available to every investor in Kenya. We want to create an awareness for a relationship between Kenyans and their money. Please don't put your money and disappear. Put your money, but engage to understand what is happening. Let us set goals with you. Let us move together. When your goals are achieved, let's deploy it to the goal. Come again and start and push on. When you've reached a certain level, then let's ask ourselves, my goal was capital preservation. I am okay where I am. What else? Then we move to the income goal. After the income goal is achieved, then we now move to growth, because we are looking at a journey with the investors. Investors are encouraged to engage with your investment managers, and lofty-Corban is here to provide this knowledge, make it palatable to the point of everyone's understanding and even appreciation of the return. Now, you need to understand return, and you also need to understand risk. We are here to give you that. As we move forward, we will continue looking into innovations. We'll continue listening to the investors and their needs, and we'll continue working to make sure that that return, that risk, and that goal that you have is properly taken care of. Looking at the market today, the money markets are averaging between 7 to 11%. And so that means anyone who was relying on income from the money markets is looking to strengthen that by diversifying. We are not saying replace money market, we are saying diversify. So share or push some of your money from the money markets to the private debt. You are in the same realm, because some of the assets that are being invested in the private debt fund are also investing in money markets. It's only that the capital markets has given us a leeway to have a higher spread in terms of where we can invest in this fund. For our individual investors, of course, we are looking at higher income from these funds, sharing what is happening in the traditional ways of doing things. Of course, we are saying there will be more impact in terms of return, but also safety because of diversification. And because of the research tools that we have already built, and the precision at which decisions are made, then we want to guarantee safety. And we want to ask anyone who has information that they want to share with us in this space. We are available. We want to build knowledge. We want to play in this space as a first fund in the market, in the private debt space. We want to create knowledge. We want to create newness. We want to innovate and make sure that the market is happy with what they're getting out of lofty-Corban. So lofty-Corban is an investment management firm licensed by the Capital Markets Authority to offer investment services, and also licensed and regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority for pension management services. Lofty-Corban has been there now for 3 years in terms of its life registration, but in the market in terms of from the first day we went to the market, 2.5 years. And what we thank God for is the company has penetrated itself, it has introduced itself, and is already in the minds of investors in this country. Lofty-Corban, the way it started was by establishing gaps that were existing in the market, and came in to bridge that gap of financial literacy, because there is no relationship between people and their money, and that is a gap that we want to create, to close, that people can create a relationship with their money. Investments are very unique and not easily understandable by the common man, and we want to make it palatable to the common man. If you look at the meaning of the words of Lofty-Corban Investments Limited, lofty is an elevated position in English, And lofty-Corban is an Hebrew word which is found in Mark 7:11. And we are there to offer an elevated service as a sacrifice to God. Because when you read Mark, you find Corban is set aside for God. And so we are here to offer an elevated service in the investment services as a sacrifice to God. So as you interact with the lofty-Corban, relate with you're being served and you're set aside for better returns just to glorify God. Our call is to urge investors in Kenya to come and internalize investments. We want to make knowledge available to every investor in Kenya. We want to create an awareness for a relationship between Kenyans and their money. Please don't put your money and disappear. Put your money, but engage to understand what is happening. Let us set goals with you. Let us move together. When your goals are achieved, let's deploy it to the goal. Come again and start and push on. When you've reached a certain level, then let's ask ourselves, my goal was capital preservation. I am okay where I am. What else? Then we move to the income goal. After the income goal is achieved, then we now move to growth, because we are looking at a journey with the investors. Investors are encouraged to engage with your investment managers, and lofty-Corban is here to provide this knowledge, make it palatable to the point of everyone's understanding and even appreciation of the return. Now, you need to understand return, and you also need to understand risk. We are here to give you that. As we move forward, we will continue looking into innovations. We'll continue listening to the investors and their needs, and we'll continue working to make sure that that return, that risk, and that goal that you have is properly taken care of. Looking at the market today, the money markets are averaging between 7 to 11%. And so that means anyone who was relying on income from the money markets is looking to strengthen that by diversifying. We are not saying replace money market, we are saying diversify. So share or push some of your money from the money markets to the private debt. You are in the same realm, because some of the assets that are being invested in the private debt fund are also investing in money markets. It's only that the capital markets have given us a leeway to have a higher spread in terms of where we can invest in this fund. For our individual investors, of course, we are looking at higher income from these funds, sharing what is happening in the traditional ways of doing things. Of course, we are saying there will be more impact in terms of return, but also safety because of diversification. And because of the research tools that we have already built, and the precision at which decisions are made, then we want to guarantee safety. And we want to ask anyone who has information that they want to share with us in this space. We are available. We want to build knowledge. We want to play in this space as a first fund in the market, in the private debt space. We want to create knowledge. We want to create newness. We want to innovate and make sure that the market is happy with what they're getting out of lofty-Corban.